that we are now entering our last short session of two parts. This is the younger researchers session. The first one will be Dr. Polina Zilberman that came from Ben-Gurion University. Her current research is interests include cyber attacks, denial of service, distributed traffic filtering, and topology analysis. This is the first short talk of this session. We'll end at 4 and 10, and we are sorry for the delay. Please.
Thank you. My name is Polina Zilberman, and I'll present research about strategies for locating scrubbing centers. This research was part of a project supported by Magad Kabarnit Consortium. And this is a joint work with Professor Yuval Alovich and Dr. Ami Puzis from Ben-Gurion University. So there is a new type of security service that diverts traffic from clients under attack towards scrubbing centers that perform analysis and filtering. We will show that traffic diversion can cause redistribution of load on the links in the network, increase the communication latency, increase the total bandwidth consumption in the network, which we also call traffic footprint. And therefore, when before deploying scrubbing centers, investing in scrubbing centers, it is required to optimize their locations. Since scrubbing centers are big data centers and they cannot be easily moved. So we define traffic footprint as the flow volume times the route length of the flow. And in this example, the volume of the green traffic without diversion, the footprint of the green traffic without diversion is 19. And when diverting it through node number 3, it goes to 29, which means that diversion has a cost. And it is important to locate the scrubbing centers according to some optimization strategy. If we divert the traffic through node number 6, then there is no penalty in the diversion. Formally, we defined the two security tasks, monitoring and filtering. In monitoring, we divert the flow from the source to one of the monitoring scrubbing centers and forward the traffic intact to the original target. In filtering, we divert the traffic to one of the filtering scrubbing centers, but only the unfiltered traffic is forwarded to the original target. So we investigated 4 deployment strategies. MinDist tries to locate the scrubbing centers as close as possible to significant attack sources. Thus, we minimize the footprint of malicious traffic. MaxGBC tries to locate the scrubbing centers in a way that most of the traffic flows will pass through the scrubbing centers without diversion. MinFFP has 2 orthogonal forces applied on the location of scrubbing center. First, the scrubbing centers are pulled towards shortest path, and the second force is to pull the scrubbing centers towards the attack sources. Thus, we minimize both the footprint of legitimate traffic and the footprint of malicious traffic. And finally, the MinMFP strategy, which minimizes the overall traffic without considering the malicious traffic that is being filtered by locating the scribing centers as close as possible to shortest path. We evaluated the strategies with respect to 5 performance indicators. Flow coverage, which means that we try to minimize the proportion of diverted flows. Vicinity to attackers, to minimize the footprint of malicious traffic. Minimizing the overall bandwidth consumption in the network. Minimizing the redistribution of load on links in the network, and minimizing the communication latency. We evaluated our strategies on a global network of points of presence and on router level autonomous system topologies. We retrieved the topologies from Rocket Fuel project site. In our evaluation, we used for the traffic matrices, we used information about botnet concentrations reported by Prolexic in the Q1 report. We also used the locations of Prolexic's scribing centers as the 5th strategy that we evaluated. So with respect to traffic footprint, the best strategies as expected were mean FFP and mean MFP. When the scribing centers that we deployed perform filtering, the best are mean FFP and mean dist. Strategies, they achieve the highest decrease in footprint due to filtering. When the scribing centers perform monitoring, the best strategy is mean MFP that achieves the lowest increase in footprint due to monitoring. The second best strategy in this aspect is mean FFP. As expected, with respect to flow diversion, the proportion of diverted flows, the best strategy was max GBC. Regarding load redistribution, we did not, in this research, we did not optimize the redistribution of load, since we assume that when a scribing center is deployed, the network capacity in its region is increased accordingly to accommodate the new expected traffic. We see that on most of the links the load did not change. There were many links on which the load decreased, but there were also links on which the load increased even by a factor of 6. With respect to communication latency, mean MFP again showed the best performance, but it is not surprising since mean MFP tries to get as close, the scribing centers as close as possible to shortest path, and distance is highly correlated with latency. It is surprising that max GBC was far from optimal, since it showed the least diverted flows. But those flows that were diverted, the relative increase was high, since max GBC does not account for the route length. So based on these results, we can conclude that the best the best strategy for deploying monitoring scribing center is mean MFP, and the best strategies for deploying filtering scribing centers are mean FFP and mean dist, but mean MFP showed better results with respect to the other performance indicators than mean dist. So if we want to optimize the location of scribing centers that perform both filtering and monitoring, we will prefer using the mean FFP strategy. And that's all. These are the main highlights of the research. There are many more. Thank you for listening.